Hi Sagittarius, welcome back to my channel Tarot C. I am C and I'm going to be doing your tarot reading, finding out what are the messages with the cards that come out in today's reading for you. Thank you so much for joining and for being here for the reading. So let's begin. Let's find out what cards come out and what messages come through with the cards that do come out in this reading today. So first card we have is the Five of Swords and it's in the reverse. But we have some air sign energy with this. Could be dealing with a Gemini or an Aquarius or even a Libra. And the next card we have is the Knight of Wands. And we have the Wheel of Fortune. At the bottom of the deck we have the Eight of Wands. So this Eight of Wands shown up here at the bottom of the deck, this does feel like things kind of begin to progress and even really pick up quite quickly. Doesn't feel like communication coming in quickly, but a lot. It could be a bit overwhelming at times, but I do feel like with this Eight of Wands shown up over here, it feels like things progressing and definitely not being stagnant. With the Five of Swords showing up in the reverse, this does feel like an energy of someone who's in a space where it's like they have a lot of regrets over a situation or encounter that may have happened in the past. Do you even get them actually wanting to be able to get on the same page with you and wanting to be able to, they could want to offer an apology for something was that they said or something that they communicated, or even if this person was coming across in a very confusing way, like they were playing any kind of mind games. This does feel like a remorseful energy over that. I do feel like though with this Knight of Wands shown up over here, you may be an energy where you want more out of this connection. You're ready to be able to have things kind of progress and move forward. And I do feel like with this this Knight of Wands showing up over here, this does also feel like a pretty intense energy as well in this connection, especially when it comes to the attraction. It could also be that when it comes to this connection, there may also be a sense of, it's like it could be putting you in a space where you're kind of feeling a bit impatient with things in this connection. But with this Knight of Wands showing up over here, it feels like an energy of actually being ready to be able to have things progress and move forward. And I do get that with the Wheel showing up over here. This does feel like a turning point in this connection. So there definitely is something happening in this connection that feels like it is a turning point for things in this connection. So I am going to clarify these cards. So we have the Ten of Wands in the reverse. And we have the Eight of Swords in the reverse. And we've got the Five of Cups in the reverse as well. The bottom of the deck, we've got the Hermit, and it's also in the reverse. But the Hermit, we do have some Virgo energy, could also be dealing with a Virgo. So the Hermit showing up in the reverse underneath this Eight of Wands, this does feel like an energy of actually being in a space where there is an end to this feeling of withdrawing, especially if there has been a lot of silence in this connection. This also feels like actually being able to have connection. I do feel like the communication also being something that's happening and leading to movements in this connection and things kind of moving forward, especially. I do get that with the Eight of the Hermit card showing up in the reverse. This does feel like an end to this feeling of space or even isolation in this connection, especially if it is happening on an emotional level. With the Hermit card showing up in the reverse, this does feel like an energy of actually wanting to be able to reconnect. So I do get that with the Ten of Wands showing up over here. This also feels like an energy of actually being in a space where when it comes to how this person feels about a situation that may have happened in the past, or if there was something that may have been said, there is a sense of remorse with this Five of Swords in the reverse. But with the Ten of Wands showing up over here, it even feels like it is something that's actually burdening them. It's something that is heavy for them to carry. So I do feel like there's a sense of actually feeling very remorseful or regretful over a situation from the past. I do feel like they could actually feel guilty. But with this Ten of Wands showing up in the reverse, this feels like it's something they have to get off their chest. They do feel like it's something they can no longer keep to themselves. It does feel like an energy of them wanting to be able to express or even offer somewhat of an apology or a sense of wanting to be able to kind of mend things. I do get that with the Eight of Swords showing up in the reverse. This feels like a pretty positive energy. It also feels like the sense of experiencing a turning point in a connection. I also feel like actually being in a space where there's a sense of also being able to experience a sense of feeling free from especially any kind of mental limitations. This feels like an energy of actually being able to have clarity in the situation for oneself as well. And with this Eight of Swords showing up in the reverse, this also feels like an energy of actually being more open in this connection and also being able to have openness around being able to connect on a deeper level mentally. Do you get that with this Eight of Swords showing up in the reverse? This feels like also being kind of in a space where it's like you're breaking out of indecisions or any kind of insecurities that may have to do with this connection. So you do feel like it's an open energy. And with this Five of Cups showing up in the reverse, this also feels like an energy of actually being in a space where it's like you're ready to be able to embrace a new connection or be able to embrace this connection in a way that is allowing you to actually have hope for the future of this connection. So I feel like this person also being in a very positive space when it comes to the outlook of your connection. With the Five of Cups showing up in the reverse, this feels like this person is not held back by anything that could have been a limitation from the past. I do feel like there's a sense of actually taking action towards being able to make things work beyond that. I do feel like with the Five of Cups showing up over here, this especially feels like on an emotional level, there's a sense of actually working on the emotional connection. There is also a turning point happening in this connection, but with the Eight of Wands showing up over here, I feel like it's a sense of actually being able to move forward in the connection. So I am going to clarify these cards. We have calling in your soulmate. We have the heart-to-heart conversations. And we have a soulmate card. So with the calling in your soulmate card showing up over here, this does feel like when it comes to this connection, there is a sense of actually having a lot of intention. I do feel like there's a sense of coming into this connection with a lot of intention and even kind of handling things, trying to be quite intentional with things. You do get that with this calling in your soulmate card showing up over here. You may actually draw this person in energetically, and I do feel like actually they may also do that to you too, but there's a sense of being drawn to each other for a reason. I do get that with this calling in your soulmate card showing up over here. This also shows that this connection is one that is happening, is very meaningful. It's happening for a reason and it's not random. I do get that there's a lot to be learned through the experiences in this connection with this person. And with the heart-to-heart conversations catching up over here, this does feel like there is communication on the horizon. So you can expect communication from this person, or you may even want to initiate some kind of communication with them. But I do feel like the communication being very, very vulnerable when it comes to the communication that is needed. Because with the Eight of Swords showing up in the reverse, as well as the Five of Swords showing up in the reverse, this also feels like having a lot to discuss or having a lot to be able to share and express. And I do feel like especially a lot that is weighing on someone on an emotional level. So it does feel like the discussions being quite meaningful and even quite deep. But I do feel like also kind of being in a space where there's an open energy towards being able to have honesty and communication with this person. And with this soulmate card showing up over here, I definitely do think that with the soulmate card showing up over here and the wheel card showing up over here, I do feel like there's a very deep connection involved in this connection with this person. And with the wheel card, this does also point towards having a connection that goes through cycles. It could even experience moments of separation and reconnection at times, but I do feel like there's a purpose to all of that. With the soulmate card showing up over here, it does feel like a soulmate relationship that you have with this person. I do feel like it's also activating a sense of growing and healing in this connection, and even self-awareness. to be had for the both of you. But I do feel like with the soulmate card showing up over here, it does feel like it is likely a soulmate connection that you share with this person. With the Eight of Wands also showing up here at the bottom of the deck, this does feel like things kind of progressing quite quickly, and even kind of picking up after moments of silence, or even moments of not being in connection. You do get that with that it may feel like there's a sense of actually having things picking up, but I do get that with this energy there's also a sense of actually being able to take your time instead of rushing it, and being able to really take into consideration moving forward when it comes to hearing from somebody, how it's making you feel, how it's affecting you before acting, and not feeling pressured to act in this connection. So those are the messages I'm getting with these cards for you, Sagittarius, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye, Sagittarius.